Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is your girl Yolanda Neely, and I'm so excited to have this very talented young lady on my show, Miss JaVonne Jones. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I am absolutely wonderful having you on my show. Now, I got to let everybody know you've been in the Golden Isles before.
I
You
have.
you play the electric violin,
Hmm.
and I saw you at the Make It Funky festival with our wonderful friends, the Jordans,
Hmm.
who are not here right now, but they're going to be coming back.
Okay.
But yeah, they brought you in, and you were just phenomenal, and everybody loved your vibe, and they loved what you were doing. So I was like, oh my God, when I have an opportunity to bring her back, and I just started my jazz station at the time, so
Awesome.
I was just creeping a little bit, and I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but then I linked up on the island, and the station is called the Island, 94.7, 97.5, and my dream was to bring you back on the rooftop, and here you
Awesome.
are, and you will be
Yes,
coming. Yes,
I'll be
yes,
there.
yes.
Excited.
Exactly. April the 26th. I want everybody to come on out and support you. And, you are just phenomenal. So tell us a little bit about JaVonne. Who are you and where are you from?
All right. Well, I'm JaVonne Jones. I'm from Augusta, Georgia. I pretty much been here. Large part of my life. I went to Alabama A&M University, so I spent some time in Huntsville, Alabama for a while, and I was a music major there.
Okay.
And that's where I kind of got my eyes open to playing non-classical music. Like after college, it kind of gave me that new love of music all over again because it was a lot different than playing classical music where you strictly have to play it the way it's on the page. And,
Mm-hmm.
when you're able to play contemporary music, you pretty much playing what you feel.
Right.
So it gave me
Right.
new love for it. And then about 2011, I moved back to Augusta and I've been here ever since.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's amazing because a lot of folks may run to Atlanta, may run to
Yeah.
places like that. What made you decide to go back to Augusta? I know it's home, but what there?
So I don't want to sound spooky, but
Okay.
but this I was in my fifth year of teaching. I was general music teacher
Okay.
in Alabama out there, and very heavy in my faith. And it was one day I was on my planning period. It was so quiet in my classroom, and I felt like God tapped me on the shoulder and was like, "It's time to go." And
Mm.
that's literally. It felt so real, like he was really there tapping me and said it's time to go. And I was that person to say, "Oh, I'm never coming back to Augusta. There's nothing in Augusta. Augusta's
Mm.
boring." So growing up, I just wanted to get as far as I could from Augusta.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he said that, he made the plan for me. I always had this love for cosmetology and I always wanted to go to school, but I never, as an adult, it's like you can't not be working.
Right.
You
Right.
have to work.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
I don't have the time to go to school, but he laid the plan for me. He said, "You move back to Augusta, you go to cosmetology school, spend a year." And when I say it was the best year, I literally did that. And from that moment,
Mm.
that same day, I called my grandmother and told her I was moving home. And once I told her, it was like, "Oh, you can't renege on that. You got to move on."
Yeah. Yeah. Once you tell grandma, oh, you gotta go because she is there
Yep.
looking
Yeah.
forward to you coming home.
Yeah, and I'm so
Wow.
glad I did. So I moved home that
Uh,
year. I took a year sabbatical from my job instead of quitting because I
mm-hmm.
said I didn't really know, like, okay, what's the next steps,
Right. Right.
But after I stayed a year at home, I started back teaching and I did resign from my other job. I was just like I didn't want to give up my job and then, I'm supposed to come back. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I've been here
Absolutely.
ever since.
So, what do you teach?
I'm right now I'm an orchestra teacher. So I teach elementary, middle, and high school orchestra at 5 schools here in Richmond County.
5 schools?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Hmm.
Wow. That
Yes.
is awesome. So
Hmm.
you go around from school to school and you teach
Hmm.
an hour or whatever?
Yes, we do about 50 minutes for elementary and an hour for middle and high school. And
Mm-hmm.
high school meets daily and middle school meets twice a week. Elementary
Okay.
meets twice a week. So it's not too overwhelming. We make our own schedules and things. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't make it too tedious where I'm running like a chicken.
Right, 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 right.
But it is a healthy load, I will say that.
And then of course you gig.
Yes, I'm doing that on top of it. So used to be 2020 I resigned. I was teaching elementary music at that time.
Mhm.
And then 2020 I spent 4 years just focusing on my music
Mhm.
and building and creating and then in 2024 I got a phone call like, "Hey, I got a job for you." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, no."
Wow.
But I did, but I did it, and it was my first time teaching orchestra, and I actually am an orchestra concentration with my degree, so
Mhm.
it gave me an opportunity to formally work with students in a more orchestral setting. Because I'm always
Mhm.
doing workshops and things like that where I primarily teach violin to whole groups,
Mhm.
but not so much the full orchestra with the lower strings. So
Right.
it gives me an opportunity to work with all of it. So I hope that it's preparing me for something bigger.
Absolutely.
So yeah. So I enjoyed it. I did sign on for another year, so
Okay.
so it's been an enjoyable year.
Let me ask you. So, out of all the instruments, what made you be attracted to the violin of all instruments?
Well, I was in church. I had to have been like maybe 7, maybe, give or take.
Mhm.
And my sister and I were at church with my aunt, and I saw this African American lady playing violin at church. I don't know until this day who it was. I would love to know who it was if I could ever find out, but it would
Mhm.
be nice if it was some of the people that I follow now, like
Mhm.
Regina Carter, Karen Briggs, or somebody. It would be like exciting to know that, but it was just a lady probably about my age or younger that was
Mhm.
playing violin at church, and I never forgot it. I said, I have to play that, whatever that is. I have to play that instrument. And
Right.
then and I got introduced to it in 4th grade. We have orchestra programs starting in 4th grade here in Richmond County. And
Mhm.
that's how I started playing.
Wow. Okay. And
Mhm.
since you fourth grade and you just been playing it ever since, and
Mhm.
your family's very supportive of your music.
Yes, and as a kid, not so much because they weren't parents that really had their hands in it. You know how a lot of parents say, "I want
Mhm.
my child to play violin." No, it had nothing to do with them. And they'll throw me in the room. They got me the instrument,
Mhm.
put me in the room. They didn't want to hear any screeching and anything like that. And then as I got older, I started playing in church, and my parents actually saw, oh, she can play.
Mhm. Okay. She for real, for real.
And so as I got older, I started to get more support from my parents
Mhm.
because I was a professional
Right.
by then. So now my mom, she barely misses anything that I do if it's
Oh.
local,
Uh huh.
and if she can travel with me, she will.
Okay.
So as I've gotten older, the support has gotten greater,
Mhm.
because they actually realized, you know what, she kept this up, and this is really good. She's actually
it,
really
And I get it
good.
because I was one of those kids. I was a music major as well, but okay, so I was like fly by night. I got bored. I studied piano, of course. I was
Uh-huh.
7 years old. Went to Wyoming. My auntie had a piano. Mommy, 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 please, please, please. Okay. Came home that year. I got my piano. So
Good.
but my problem was I had a mean piano teacher. She was a
Oh Lord.
Jamaican lady in New York, and she was mean, and that just turned me off. And then I started getting back in high school. I said, junior high, I started loving it again, and so it kind of went from there. I did come home with the violin, and they weren't really too happy with me with that. When you
Right.
mentioned the screeching, and my brother actually paid for it. I never forget. He's older than me, and he was working at American Airlines. He's like, "You really want to try this?" He said, "I really think you're better on the piano." You sure you just don't want to start? I said, "Well, let me try it. Let me do it." And I bring home this violin, and they just like, "Oh Lord, have mercy! Go upstairs." You
Yeah.
go. So my room was in the attic. Why don't you go up there and play it up there? So
Yeah, it's
that didn't
not a
last
friendly
long.
one.
Yeah, that didn't last too long. And then I tried my hand at singing. I'll get quiet on that one.
Well, I'm not a singer per
Mhm.
se, but I guess when you're musically inclined and
Mhm.
you take music in school, they teach you how to be able to sing on
Mm-hmm.
tune and things like that. So
Yes.
I do some singing, but I'm not a singer. I
Right.
never. Mm.
Yeah, I was in the choir. I was in the I was in the mixed chorus and all that good stuff. So yeah, I did it all, but nah, that wasn't my forte until until I found. Then I started putting groups together. That's what I really wanted to do. I wanted to do A&R for a label.
Awesome.
That was my
Yeah.
dream. I wanted to work for a record label. We were living in New York, and I used to spend all my time as a DJ, going to the record stores and listening to all the new music. I just knew that was
Hmm.
what. Then my mom came home and said, "Oh, we're moving to Miami." I'm like, "Huh?"
Oh my gosh.
So that was my music dreams, but then I wound it up a DJ. So I still stay with the music, but
Good. Yeah.
this is what I was supposed to do. So
Yeah.
40 years strong, I'm still doing it. So
That's awesome.
that's yeah. So that's what I really admire, people who just go out there and live their dream. Believe in what they do. And when I first heard you play, I was so very much impressed. I said, this girl
Oh,
really loves what she do. You could
I
see it
do.
on you. You could see it.
Hmm.
And you had the crowd rocking and having a good time. And the only other person, or actually other couple of people that I've seen play the violin like that, of course, is Ken Ford. Love
Yeah.
him. Yeah,
Hmm.
and he kind of sexy too. He be moving that body with his guy like, okay, now you need to stop that. Sorry, that part came out. And
I
of course,
understand.
and plus, what's his Damien Escobar? Love
Yes.
him, love him. So, who are some of your faves?
Oh goodness, they definitely are two of my faves.
Mm-hmm.
Damien Escobar, when he plays, he's not the gyrator like Kim
Yes,
Ford, but he's
yes.
so passionate. You can kind of see his passion in
Mm-hmm.
his playing. Yeah, I love Kim Ford. There's some that kind of fly under the radar. There's um, Chelsea Green, which she's a little bit more on the jazzy side. She's out of DC,
Okay.
and younger, there are younger ones too. Brooke Alford, she's out of Atlanta, Georgia. She's great.
Mm-hmm.
Karen Briggs, of course,
Mm-hmm.
dominates the stage. And like some older school, John Luke Ponty, like a lot of people say, oh, you have a sound like him. And I mean, I listen to his stuff. I play a lot of runs like
Mm-hmm.
him and some of my phrasing. So I do. I listen to a good bit, and they kind of influence my style and things like that.
That is awesome. Looking up and giving your mentors, and even though they may not know it, but
Yeah, because
behind.
they don't know me. None of them do. I was like,
See, I didn't
they
say that
don't
one.
know me.
They don't know,
But
but
it
they
would
will.
be nice.
And they will. They will.
Yeah.
We just gotta get you exposed.
Yes,
That's it.
yes, yes. And
And
it would be great if they did, and I don't even know that they do.
you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised.
Yeah.
People follow you. You just don't. And like I said, just getting exposed more and being out there. So, have you done a lot of touring prior to before?
I have not. Like I've been really wanting to get into touring, and I believe connections with people is everything, and I guess I have not been in that connection with the people to put me in a direction of how this is done because I started this in 2011 when I moved home. That's
Mm-hmm.
when I started establishing myself as an artist. So in regards to the business, like nobody really taught us this stuff. Everything has been learned through the process and
Mm-hmm.
over the years. And so I haven't quite gotten into like what do I need to do to officially tour. I would
Mm-hmm.
love to do that. That's something that's really been high up on my goals. Like I really would like to do this, what needs
Mm-hmm.
to be done. But unofficially, I mean, I'm traveling everywhere doing events and shows. It's
Mm-hmm.
just not in a formal sense of,
Right.
I have this tour set up. So
Mm-hmm.
hopefully I get to that point where I am doing that.
Yeah, I see that happening for you. I see
I
it.
hope so.
You get the right person, just connect you to the right dots, and you'll be on your
Yeah.
way. Because, you know, uh, like I said, I see the passion. I see you doing what you do, and that's a good thing. I mean, in fact, I'm going to be honest with you. I had a friend of mine that came to a Make It Funky festival, and he had been asking me for like the past couple of years. Have you ever been in touch with that violin player? I like, no, not yet, not yet, not yet, but I will eventually.
I
Let
told
us.
you better have his ticket for that show now.
Oh, trust me, he will be there. He will be there. Trust me, he's gonna be front and center. He's like, oh yeah,
Okay.
I can't miss her. So that makes me feel good that
Mm.
somebody, especially again coming to town. You've only been here what, one time,
Yep,
twice,
that was my
before.
only time.
Wow,
Hmm.
and that the fact that you kind of made a connection to people that they're like, oh, okay, I got to come back, and that was what, 2020,
Yeah, that
2020 or
was. I think it
2021.
was after COVID.
Yeah, after
Yeah, I think it
COVID.
was after the start of COVID. Yeah,
Yes, yes, yes. So I think it was
yeah,
about 22, yeah, 22, 23, around there, because that's when I started the radio station in
yeah.
2023. So yeah, I mean, it's been a couple years.
Yeah, that's one thing I really when I and it's when I'm anywhere. My guy, I got a guy that helps me with my bookings sometimes, and he
Mm-hmm.
always tell me people always forget what you do and what you say, but they never forget how they make you feel, or you
Mm-hmm.
make them feel. Sorry.
Right.
And so I'm like, you are so right. And so he would say sometimes, go make somebody feel good today,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't realize like that's really what you're doing
Yeah.
until you get there, and people are coming from different walks of life, going through different things in life, and then they come to you for, like, I don't want to say therapy, but like you're pretty much
Mm-hmm.
like therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And they're looking to be entertained, they're looking to enjoy, they want to have a connection with you and feel like they know you and a part of you and things like that. So I've learned a lot just from that little phrase. It kind of
Mm-hmm.
transformed my thinking when it comes down to performance. It's
Absolutely.
bigger than just getting up there playing for people.
Mm-hmm.
You want to connect with people and make people feel good.
Mm-hmm.
So,
You're touching
yeah.
souls. I mean, you
Yes.
know, everything that we have, I believe, is a ministry. A lot of
Hmm.
people don't even may not understand and may not put the two together. Well, what do you mean, yo? Well, because if like you said, connecting, engaging, touching,
Hmm.
it makes people feel a certain type of way
Hmm.
that they want to come out and spend money to come see a show or come and see
Hmm.
you. So, again, for him to say, and he was of the Caucasian persuasion. It wasn't even one of us. So I was like, okay, John, I'm gonna have to bring her
Oh,
back.
you
Yeah.
did.
So
That's
that's like,
good.
and he was just telling me, and she was like, awesome. I was like, okay. So
I
that
love it.
really, yeah, that really really inspired me to say, okay, and even with Derek, and Lisa Jordan's, when I, because he saw you on Facebook and he was blown
Hmm.
away. Saw you on social media, because I was like, how did you know? Where did you get? He said social media.
Hmm.
And in YouTube, I saw her, and she was just like, wow. And Frank, and and I was like,
Hmm.
wow, yeah. My goal again is bring you both back together, because you guys really vibe off one another for
Yeah,
real.
and it's so funny. So the the COVID years, really, we were just trying to make it. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Right.
But I met Frank. There was this lady, Tammy Green, and she's deceased now. But she used to do these very big jazz events, like in North Carolina area, South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And she said she had been watching me for like a long time, like on social media, my posts
Mm-hmm.
and things.
Mm-hmm.
And then she was doing the same thing with Frank. And they had this event that was virtual, and it had some big timers like Jeff Bradshaw. Like, oh, he was there
Mm-hmm.
too,
Right,
wasn't
because he
he?
was there.
Yeah, he was,
Yes.
yeah. But she had some big names on a virtual event that, I mean, it was a huge virtual event she put together, New Year's Eve going into 21. And she
Mm-hmm.
had me and Frank on there. We were the only new people on there.
Mm.
Everybody else were like big names. And we were like, okay,
Y'all
what
with
an
us?
honor, you know?
Uh-huh.
And then after that, Frank and I connected, and we started trying to figure out, like, how can we do some side by side videos?
Mm-hmm.
And we experimented with it, and then we kept it going because we wanted to stay relevant during the time that we were inside. We don't want people to forget about us because they're
Right.
not booking us, physically right now. So
Mm-hmm.
we did, and we thrived through that
Mm-hmm.
time, during that quarantine time, just from doing videos together. We then
Mm-hmm.
started a good friendship. We started getting booked together and things like that. So and we still do stuff together now. And it's been what, 4 years.
Wow,
So,
yeah. Yeah, I
hmm
definitely I would love to have you two back again here and let me get the budget right, you know. Hey,
he's
I'm
coming a little further than
well, you
I.
know, I mean, I see because I actually I follow both of you, so
hmm
I've been watching him and what he's been doing as well. So,
hmm
but again, but that's why I said when I get the budget together,
I understand.
and
I
I
understand.
get both of you, I can afford both of you. So that's why we're trying to, hey, baby steps.
Baby.
You know, maybe one
Yes.
at a time, and maybe both. You know, we're
Yeah.
working at it. But so you got a new project out. Tell us a lot about your project, and is this your first one? You know, your first.
Okay. So, this project is called Heart Chronicles. It's 4 songs. I tell people all the time, it's 4 little things that happened to my heart in 41 years. But it
Okay.
is okay. It's
Okay.
better, look, it's better than none. But
Mm-hmm.
but any rate, it's a 4 song EP that I put together, and my single is called Catching Feelings. And it came from a space of like, you catch feelings for someone that you didn't expect, didn't want to, and it just happened. It just happened all of a sudden, and now you love this person. You head over heels. So that's where the space that it came from.
Mm-hmm.
But this is actually my second project, but my first original project.
Okay.
I released a gospel project called My Testimony,
Mm.
and it was a compilation of gospel covers that had told my story up until that point of my life. And so each song kind of meant a lot to me, and
Mm-hmm.
that's how it ended up getting a part of the project. So that was my original project. When I first started in 2011, I was doing primarily gospel,
Okay.
and then kind of got into doing some non-gospel music. And then when it came to the demand, of
Mm-hmm.
course, the demand for non-gospel was outweighed it. But I
Mm-hmm.
still do a lot of gospel too. It just depends. I play everywhere. I
Okay.
play
Okay. I hear.
everywhere and some of everything. So yeah.
Okay. Hey, it's called making money and making a
Yep.
living.
That's
You
it.
know, it's it. You know, you got to do what you got to do. So,
hmm
what are your hopes and dreams? We're gonna play as we wrap up. I'm gonna play your single.
Okay.
It's called "Cheating Heart," right?
Catching feelings.
Catch and feel. Where did "Cheating Heart" comes from?
Ah, it might be a next project.
Take that
Might
out.
be
Get rid.
foreseeing a next project. Cause
I don't know where
yeah.
that came from. Like, what the heck? But anyways, catching feelings. Oh my goodness, yo, it's
It's
crazy.
hard.
But, no, what would you like to actually tell our listeners, and what to expect from JaVonne? What's your ultimate goal here as far as music is
Um,
concerned?
well, ultimately, I went back into the workforce, but ultimately, I want to travel. I want to travel all over the world, and I want to perform all over the world, not just confined to reaching the world through social media, but actually being in different spaces, because different cultures, they and not just different cultures, but different areas of our country that we're in,
Mm-hmm.
their appreciation for music is so different, and we get kind of boxed in when we are performing in the same areas all the time for the same kinds of people. And I just want to expand and like travel all over, sharing the gift that God gave me. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I have light that needs to be shared with the world,
Mm-hmm.
and not just only in the social media sense. So just
Right.
trying to get myself out there a lot more, like I told you before, touring, putting out more music. I've always been a kind of timid um in the creating or
Mm-hmm.
writing, because that wasn't a focus that I would had in college. We
Mm-hmm.
didn't really
Right.
do a lot of composition because we were classically training.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't really doing a lot of writing. So I'm trying to get out of my comfort zone in that area, because I have people all the time like, we want you on this festival and that one, but I don't really do what I consider smooth jazz per
Right.
se, or fit in that category. But I could, some of the stuff
Mm-hmm.
I do play, does. So Yeah, so just trying to get um myself out there a lot more than what I am right now.
That's awesome. And that's one of the reasons why too, because my crowd, they like to get up and groove. They like to dance a
Mm.
little bit, so that, that made me a Beyonce shows up in there, so that's what,
Yeah.
and the thing is with smooth jazz listeners now, that's the same music because I mean, it's just to me, it's just
Yeah.
R&B, instrumental
Hmm.
R&B, and
Yeah.
the vibe is right. So, and R&B, I'm an old head, radio head, so I've been doing this for over 40 something years now, and R&B's changed. It's
Mm.
got more of a hip hop
Definitely
feel.
changed. Yeah.
So and a lot of older people, they want to hear more, something, that they're familiar with, but they don't
Hmm.
want to hear the all the hip hop to it. So
Yeah.
that's where smooth jazz and this whole, it's kind of like, it's really changing up now. It's bringing a whole nother set of people, younger people, to the
Hmm.
vibe. So that's why I like when I heard you, I was like, wow, I know my listeners and my folks are gonna really, really enjoy you. So I'm
Yeah.
excited. I'm really excited about you coming, and I definitely want everybody to show up, show you some love, show you the support. Come out,
Yes.
yes, come out to the rooftop. The Ocean Lodge Resort is gonna be awesome. And I know JaVonne, you're gonna do your thing, and I got people. I mean, they're like, oh, I'm gonna be rolling about 15 deep. Oh, I'm gonna be rolling about 7 deep. Oh, I'm like,
Well, come
really?
on.
I'm like, come on, yes, that's what I'm talking about. And the thing is, you with your music, you teach. Me with my media training, I teach. This is all
Hmm.
about the kids, and this helps us. Where I don't make money, because we put everything back into it to help our kids. And
Yeah.
communication skills, as you can tell, you're a teacher, is very important. And
Yes.
unfortunately, a lot of our young people lack that.
They
So,
do.
our common goal between music and having a good time, this is what, this is the next level of teaching. It's different.
Yeah.
I was
Hmm.
like, try something new, and
Yeah.
try something new. So I'll be out
Yeah.
there
They
teaching this
learn.
morning. Mm-hmm.
They learn from us, and we had a little outing at a little arcade last week for the orchestra program, and
Mm-hmm.
I met some parents of some kids I had never met, and they were like, "Oh, I've seen your YouTube. They came in here." I said, "Y'all done tracked me down on the
Wow.
YouTube." So
See?
kids have, so it leaves an impression on them, and it kind of shows them that, yeah, this stuff that I'm learning right now, because it's a prerequisite, it's
Mm-hmm.
just the beginning. This is just the foundation. The sky's the limit to what you can actually do, with the instrument. I
Mm-hmm.
tell them all the time, explore your instrument at home outside of what you're practicing. Because that's how I learned. That's how I learned playing by ear. They didn't
Mm-hmm.
teach us that in school.
Mm-mm.
So I
Mm-mm.
just played around with it, and then I was good at it.
Hmm.
It's like,
Exactly. Exactly. And
so.
that's it. You just keep playing
Mhm.
them. And most of the people that I know, a lot of people just play by ear. They got that good
Mhm.
ear. I mean, I studied, I taught myself some stuff,
Yeah.
and went from there. But then I got bored. I didn't like
It
to
happens.
practice. I didn't like to
It
practice.
happens.
I didn't like to
It
practice.
happens.
I didn't like being stuck on the piano 2 and 3 hours a day. That was my problem. My attention span wasn't there. I wanted to go outside and play.
I understand. Yeah, for me, it just sometimes I'll be in here and it's been hours and hours, but it's just because I enjoy doing it and time
Yeah.
just flies, and
Yeah.
but
But see, and that's why you are where you were. That's why you're good at it, and I'm not, because you took time. And you spend time honing your
goodness.
craft. You did what you were supposed to do. But see, and now I can say it now that hey, it's 40 something years later. Oh, God had another plan for me.
He had another plan.
He had
He
another
did.
plan for me.
He
No,
did.
yo didn't want to practice. That's what it was.
Yeah, it's
But it's,
hard to get kids to practice. It's rough.
I was one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, to sit there. What? And again, it was that mean piano teacher. She did it to me. I'll never get a Mrs. Gill. Too mean.
But look, that's one you won't forget, though.
That's it,
That's
exactly.
right. Look, you might have forgotten that second grade teacher, but you didn't
Okay.
forget her.
But hey, but you know what? I'm gonna be honest with you, because my mom, only way my mom could really punish me is like stop the music. That's the only way because she could whip me. She could, yeah, okay, but take my music away. That was a whole nother.
Hmm.
My feelings
Yeah.
were hurt. I was
Yeah.
hurt. So I remember something I did, and my grades dropped, and they came to my house, spoke to my mom,
Oh no.
and my music teacher, my core, Mrs. Parker in New York City, Andrew Jackson High School. She called my mom, and she said, and my mother said, she thinks she Natalie Cole.
I do.
So when I went to class, she said, "You are not Natalie Cole. Nowhere
Oh my
near."
goodness.
I said, "Miss Parker, you didn't have to hurt my feelings like that."
Oh
She sure did. Like,
no.
in other words, get your stuff together, so you can graduate. And like, okay. So that's what I said. You know what? Let me go try something else over here because she broke my little heart. You
Broke
are
your
not.
heart.
She said, "You are not Natalie Cole. You can't see Natalie Cole is there." I'm like, okay, that's what's up. But hey, it is what it is.
It
But
is
you
what
know
it
what?
is.
It was real, and I preferred her saying, you being real. But that's why I knew I really wanted more behind the scenes. Anyway, that was really
Hmm.
my passion, behind the scenes versus being on stage, because not everybody can do that.
Yeah.
And not everybody can do. And you got it. That's what you
Oh,
do.
thank you.
You got it. So we are definitely looking forward to you coming again. Mark the date on your calendar. It is April the 26th. It's on the rooftop at the Ocean Lodge Resort. JaVonne Jones is going to be coming with the Queen of Strings. I like that. I
Yeah.
like that, Queen of
I love
Strings.
it.
That's right, electric violin, and she's going to definitely do her thing. You want to do me a favor and introduce your single?
Well, guys, you are about to listen to the electrifying rendition of Catch and Feeling from my EP entitled Heart Chronicles, and I hope you love it.